Max Verstappen is the 2024 Formula 1 World Champion! And this was the last Formula 1 video for 2024. Thanks for watching and see you in 2025. What the hell? 20 seconds to the second. And I can tell you, Max could have gone faster than that. But how is that possible? Is Ferrari a disaster like last year? What about Hamilton and Mercedes? Well, in this video we will analyze the Bahrain Grand Prix, and even if the race was boring, we have so many interesting things to see. For those of you who don't know this channel, well, in my Italian channel, I've been doing these PostGP analysis for every race and people are going crazy, so I decided to do them as well in English. Every race week, the day after the race, I make a video like this, where we see the summary, where I summarize the race weekend, the top 3 and flop 3, the Naska tag, which is a section for tag enthusiasts, the too hot to handle, a section of the video where I analyze the hottest topic of the weekend, the Naska votes, where we evaluate each driver, and to the next GP and beyond, where we try to forecast the next Grand Prix. So let's start immediately with the recap, and well, this racing weekend could be summarized like this. FP1. Oh guys, Red Bulls are not dominating. FP2. I can't believe it. Red Bulls are slow. FP3. Mamma mia, Ferrari is first. Qualifying. Max Verstappen made the pole position. But the other drivers are close. That's going to be a great race. Verstappen wins with 20 seconds gap. Yeah, whatever. Let's take a closer look to what really happened. We are in Bahrain for the first Grand Prix of the season, and this free practice is quite strange, because not even a week before we had the tests, the only 3 test day of the season. And nobody knows who's going to be fast or slow. Yes, because some are hiding, some others are running with the engine detuned, but the real big news that shocks the paddock is a sensational revelation about Christian Horner. Christian has been accused of sexual harassment towards an employee. But this accusation has not gone to court, but instead they did an internal investigation. And so after the investigation, Horner has been declared innocent. But during the FP2 of the Bahrain Grand Prix, an anonymous email has been sent to journalists and to Formula 1 bosses with a folder containing the screenshots of the private chat between Horner and the employee. That's really complicated, that's delicate, I will make a dedicated video about that. So if we talk about the activity on track, however, in the free practice, RedBull is not the fastest, so everybody's hoping in someone else to win the race. Qualifying 1, everyone is still hopeful, because we have 19 cars in just less than 1 second, until we get to Q2 and Q3, where some cars magically starts to go faster, and in the end, Verstappen gets the pole position. Leclerc P2, but guess what? He's close. In fact, Leclerc in Q2 went faster than Verstappen Q3 pole position. But why is that? We will see later. Let's point out on Nico Hülkenberg in top 10 with the Haas, but before the race, many people are wondering, will Ferrari be able to keep Red Bull's pace? Because if so, we finally might see a battle between Supermax and Leclerc. Well, not at all. The drama is that Max Verstappen since the first laps runs away with a hellish pace. Not only Leclerc is going slow, he's making so many mistakes, and everybody starts to think, did he forget how to drive? Well, no, he had a brake problem. So he gets passed by Perez, Sainz and Russell, but from the first pit stop on, the race is boring. Nothing happens, Verstappen wins, Perez P2, then we have the Ferrari of Sainz and Leclerc, who in the end was able to overtake Russell, and then we have Russell, Norris, Piastri and the 2 Aston Martin. Now, let's see who were the top 3 of the racing weekend. First top, the Red Bull. And I'm not talking about the management or the political part. That we will see in the Christian Horner video. I'm talking about the racing part. Yes, because Red Bull repeated exactly the 2023 Bahrain Grand Prix. Pole position with 3/10 of advantage, race dominated, 0 tire degradation, 2 sets of soft for the race just to make clear who manages the tires best, Max throwing the fastest lap and then going slow just to manage. Guys, I can write it with my blood. I can guarantee you that if Max had pushed more, he would have given 30 seconds to Perez. But there's a thought in all of this, which is that even Max Verstappen was surprised about how fast he was. Why? I just want to give you a hint. On Friday and Saturday there was a lot of wind and Max complained and suffered, while on Sunday no wind and Max dominated. That's curious, isn't it? The second top of the weekend is Guan Yu Zhou. Yeah, because what a great race by Zhou. After qualifying, I thought that Sauber would have struggled a lot out in Q1, so I was expecting Zhou to finish P15. Well, not at all. Great pace, early pit stop to drive in free air, great tire management, 11th place. He missed the points by so little. This means he was the fastest of the other 5. Yes, because if we exclude the first 5 teams, well, he was the fastest of the other 10 drivers. The third top of the weekend was the As. Yes, the As. They themselves thought they were going to be the last at the beginning of the season. Everyone was thinking they would have been last. Instead, look at that. Hülkenberg in Q3, Magnussen finishes P12, and Hulk, even with the crash and 1 pit stop more than the others, finishes P16. He could have scored points without the crash. So, good. Okay, so at this point you're going to say, Naska, how did you not put Sainz in the top 3? In Sky Sport Italy, he was even evaluated as the best driver of the weekend. Well, he did a great race, but we can't say that he deserves top 3 because we don't know how Leclerc would have gone. Because Leclerc was faster in qualifying, and without the brake problem, he could have been faster in the race. So this is why I'm not putting Sainz in the top 3. Now, let's see the flop 3, the worst 3 of the weekend. First of all, we have Aston Martin. There was a nice surprise on Saturday. Alonso P6, which means that maybe the rumors and the results of the tests were not true. Alonso in the game, he can go back to the podiums. Not at all. Disastrous race pace and strategy. Alonso finishes P9, nowhere near Piastri. Stroll a little better because after the spin in turn 1, he restarted last. He did an incredible comeback, he finished at P10. But the true thing is that Aston Martin now is in a no man's land. Too far from the top 4, too far from the bottom floor. Are they going to race alone the whole season? Second flop of the weekend, the V-Carb, which is the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. I just can't call them the V-Carb. I will say Racing Bulls. I mean, I thought that we were going to be in the Aston Martin zone, and many people thought the same after the tests. But instead, their level is the same of Haas and Sauber. That was just not enough. And moreover, Tsunoda in the end did something crazy. The team asked him to let Ricciardo pass, and by the way, they were fighting for P12, so no points, I mean. And so, after the race, Tsunoda lost his mind, passed super fast, super close to Ricciardo, with a kamikaze move. I mean, I understand the anger, but that's not good. Finally, the third flop of the weekend, the Alpine. Guys, what a disaster they were. Okay, testing has gone badly. But boy, this bad I didn't imagine. Ocon and Gasly in qualifying were dead last. In the race pace, they were last. Let's not consider Bottas and Sargent who had problems. The thing is that car is 11 kilograms overweight. The engine costs half a second per lap. This is really a bad situation. Let's go now with the Naska tech, where we have 3 very interesting tech things to analyze. First of all, in free practice, Verstappen complained about the shifter, especially about the way the gears were coming in. But what does that mean? And why is it a problem for the driver? In a Formula 1 car, you change gears with the pedals on the steering wheel. And when you pull a pedal, there is a complex system of mechanisms and electronic strategies that intervene to make sure that the gear shift is precise, clean, and smooth. Because if it doesn't, it can destabilize the car and make it hard to drive. But if this system doesn't work perfectly, what happens? First possible issue, the gears go in too violently, and that destabilizes your rear end. So if you're downshifting and getting into the corner, you might get oversteer, while if you exit in a corner and accelerating with the steering wheel turned, you might feel a kick and get oversteer. The second possible issue is that the gears feel badly synchronized, and this problem is even more subtle to understand. Because if a driver downshifts very quickly, something like bam 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 bam, the engine is revving very high, so you have a lot of engine brake, and so you tend to lock the rear wheels, getting oversteer. On the other hand, if you downshift slowly, something like bum, bum, bum. You have no engine brake, the car is braking less, but it's more stable and you get understeer. So, knowing this, the driver could take advantage of the downshift to voluntarily induce oversteer or understeer. If the car is understeering too much in the entry, you go for slower downshifts. Otherwise, if you get understeer, you go for faster downshifts. Now, if you have a delay in the downshifts, you cannot control this, and therefore you don't have 100% control over the car. That's why Verstappen was complaining that much about the shifter. Topic number 2. Hamilton complained during the race of a broken seat. Wow, but why is that a problem? Well, to go fast in a Formula 1, you have to always drive to the limit. Therefore, you have to perfectly feel how the car moves. And how do you feel that? You feel it with your butt. Yeah, because the butt sits on the seat, which is firmly connected to the chassis of the car. So from the seat and from the butt, which is the part of your body which is tightly tightened to the seat with the seat belts, you can feel the car movements. But if the seat breaks, you cannot feel it anymore. And that's why Hamilton was complaining. I remember when I was racing with the small Formula race cars, one day my seat got loose and it was moving something like millimeters. Well, I couldn't drive anymore. I had to pit to fix the seat. That's the reason why the seat is so important. Topic number 3. Why in Q1 we had 20 cars in 1 second, while in the race Verstappen was giving 1 second per lap to anyone else? Well, there are 2 reasons. First of all, during qualifying the track improves. The drivers keep putting new tires and they keep improving, reaching the car limit. Plus, the power unit in Q2 and Q3 is squeezed to its maximum because they try to use hybrid mappings that drains the battery as much as possible. That makes the MGUH work more, therefore making the 6-cylinder engine more powerful and thus giving the driver a bit more of advantage. And keep in mind, I'm talking about hybrid mapping, because between qualifying and race, you can't change the V6 engine mapping. So at this point, the question is, if they can squeeze the power unit more, why don't they do for all the qualifying, all free practice and all the race? Because you wear the components too much and you risk to break them. So they use it only for those fastest lap in qualifying. The second reason between this difference between race and qualifying gaps is that since 3 years we have the ground effect cars. And what is the main characteristic of ground effect cars? It is that it's not difficult to find aerodynamic load. What is difficult is to maintain it in every condition, to maintain the car balance throughout the race. And that is the point. In qualifying, almost everybody can find aerodynamic load and therefore all the cars are close in terms of performance. But in the race, where you need to have a perfect balance not to wear the tires too much, the only team that found that perfect balance is the Red Bull. That's why in qualifying they are all close, while in the race Red Bull flies. Let's see now the too hot to handle, the hot topic of the weekend. We all know that hot topic is the Chris and Horner situation, but I will make a dedicated video about that. So what I want to see now is, okay, Red Bull is the fastest, cool, but all the other teams? I mean, how is it possible that in the 3rd year of the ground effect cars, nobody can come close to Red Bull? Well, we are dealing with the genius, which is Adrian Newey, and the team of geniuses, which are all the other engineers in Red Bull. And this is already a partial answer, but all the other engineers are not stupid. They are the best in the world. So what about Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari? What went wrong with them? Let's start with McLaren. In McLaren, they already made it clear before the racing weekend. Lando Norris said, Bahrain has too many slow corners. It's not the track for us. Then we are even further back than expected. But even at the end of last year, we would have struggled racing in Bahrain. And I can say he was right. In qualifying, they were bad. In race, they were bad. All according to the expectation. So, in order to answer the McLaren question, we need to wait a few races to see how they perform in the other tracks. Okay, so what about Mercedes? In Mercedes they have George Russell, which is a very good driver. However, he has a small flaw, which is he shoots predictions like wildfire. Now, about Verstappen dominating, he had it right. But about Mercedes having a better race pace than Ferrari, I mean, Leclerc beat him without brakes. So what was the problem of Mercedes? Apparently, Mercedes opened too few air vents. That led to overheating, which cost them 0.4 of a second per lap in the race pace. So if this is true, it means that this Mercedes has a great potential. So next races could be interesting if Lewis Hamilton stops making experiments with the setup because he got P9 in qualifying and in race disappeared. Then we come to Ferrari. So testing went well, practice went well. They come into qualifying, and in Q2, Leclerc goes faster than Verstappen. And then we get in Q3, and both Leclerc and Sainz go bad. But why? How come they all of a sudden went slow? Well, apparently Ferrari misread the track conditions, which changed from Q2, and the tire preparation was not perfect. That was the issue. Moreover, Leclerc had one other issue in qualifying, which is in Q1, Leclerc was not that fast, so the team told him to go out to make another lap. But in the middle of the lap, they told him, go back to the pits, there's no need to complete the lap. So Leclerc found himself in Q3 with one new set of tires and another set of tires with just one slow lap. And you may say, okay, one slow lap means nothing. Well, with those soft tires, it actually means something. And when you get to Q3, each driver ideally wants to have two new sets of tires, because with the first set, they try to shoot the lap and find the limit. And then, with the second set of tire, they take out the perfect lap. Leclerc didn't have two new sets of tires, and that was a problem for him. But whatever, qualifying was never a problem for Ferrari. Last year, they were making pole position. So what about the race? What about the car? What about the race pace? Did Ferrari improve from last year or not? Well, we can assume that if Leclerc didn't have the brake issue in the race, he would have finished 20 seconds behind Verstappen. And how was it last year? Well, last year he didn't finish the race, but if he would have finished it, he would have been 35 to 40 seconds behind Verstappen. That means that now Ferrari has more or less halved the gap from Red Bull, which is a big step forward. It means Ferrari is not yet competitive enough to beat Verstappen, but it means that with the next upgrades, they could come closer to Verstappen and maybe win some races during the season. However, the bad truth is that Verstappen is still dominating. Let's now see the Naska votes. Magnussen 6, at last he got better. Hülkenberg 8, Hulk, Ju 7.5, Concrete, Bottas 5.5, Distracted, Ricardo 5, Dull, Tsunoda 6.5, Hothead, Sargent 5.5, Unlucky, Albon 6.5. Did he argue with the director? I mean, they never filmed him. Ocon 6, keep it up. Gasly 6, keep it up. Stroll 7.5, combative. Alonso 8, dejected. Piastri 6.5, shadowed. Norris 7.5, convincing. Hamilton 5.5, missing. Russell 8.5, brilliant. Sainz 9, convincing. Leclerc 9, please pray to Sam Brambo. Perez 7, second in every sense of the word. Verstappen 10, what the hell, Max? Stop it, please. Towards the next GP and beyond. The next Grand Prix is going to be in Saudi Arabia. And it's going to be in Saturday. Keep in mind, Saturday. The Jeddah track is completely different from Bahrain. Both from the asphalt, which is very smooth, and for the corners, which are very fast. If we were to look at the Bahrain data and at the cars, that means that Ferrari, McLaren and Mercedes are going to go faster. But don't worry, Max Verstappen is going to win again. Or maybe not. Bah, of course he is.